Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. Now, today is going to be a little different, family. I've been traveling for the last couple of weeks. I went to the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. I came home for one day, and then me and my wife set off to Richmond, Virginia for the Resonate Podcast Festival, as well as celebrating her birthday. It has been an amazing 2 weeks, but this also means the schedule for the pod has been a little off. I appreciate y'all hanging in there. I see that y'all are listening, and I hope that you all have enjoyed the series with me and Amanda, your favorite queer historian from Yesterqueers, because I have thoroughly enjoyed doing them. And I see that y'all are listening, so that makes my heart smile. Amanda and I are actually talking about if we will do more of these, and I hope that we will. And because of traveling, not just mine, but our editor as well, today I'm going to drop our third episode about Hattie McDaniel. I ain't no family, but Amanda told me Hattie was bisexual, and we get into it all. So I hope that you all enjoyed this episode, and tomorrow be on the lookout for another Queer News episode of the more traditional kind. Y'all were going to get two this week anyway. They're just coming in an order that I wasn't expecting. But alas, I want to keep my commitment to dropping content every Monday, and that's what I'm doing. I love y'all. I hope you're taking care of yourself, okay? We're getting into the holiday season. We're going to blink. It's going to be 2025. So take care of yourself. Take a lot of deep breaths and enjoy this special episode about Hattie McDaniel being bisexual. Didn't see it coming. Talk to y'all tomorrow.
November 1st is the start of open enrollment for the Get Covered Illinois Health Insurance Marketplace. If you need health insurance, our Get Covered Illinois navigators are here to help you select a plan to fit your family's needs. You can compare health plans side by side, and you may qualify for financial help. Open enrollment starts November 1st. Visit getcoveredillinois.gov. Your health coverage starts here.
Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn here. It is LGBTQ History Month, and if you've been following along, then you know Amanda, our very own queer public historian, of Yesterqueers, has been joining me on the channel to talk about queer history. And today, y'all ain't ready for this. I wasn't ready, so I know you ain't ready. And Amanda gonna break it all down. Amanda, who we talking about today?
We're going to talk about your favorite old school Hollywood actress, Hattie McDaniel, who was a bisexual.
What? Family, that's the reaction I had when she told me that Hattie McDaniel was bisexual. And so now we're going to jump into all the tea, because Chile, everything you're about to say will absolutely be tea that I did not know. Now, and period, okay? Now, we know all about Hattie McDaniel, and if you don't even know who Hattie McDaniel is, I can add to this part of the tea. Yes. She was the first Black woman to win an Oscar for her role in Gone with the Wind. And that has been the image of Hattie McDaniel I've had my entire life. It is Aunt Jemima, okay? It is breaking barriers in Hollywood, okay? And now Amanda has broken my whole bubble. It said she's bisexual, okay? So,
indeed.
Amanda, give us the tea.
So here's the thing. Hattie McDaniel was in Hollywood at a time where there's a lot of queerness in Hollywood at this period of time. There was very famously a secret, not secret, group of lesbians in Hollywood, actresses known as the Sewing Circle, which Hattie McDaniel may or may not have been a part of. So of course, I'm going to have to preface this all by saying Hattie McDaniel has never confirmed nor denied this herself, or didn't while she was alive. Obviously, she has passed away now. But that was pretty common for the time, for a variety of reasons, not just because of how stars were their images were sort of manipulated by the studios, but also because there were actually laws in place about being queer. So there is lots of very well-founded sourcing, however, to say that Hattie McDaniel was bisexual.
So
there
what
is
was
a
this?
very go ahead.
What was this? It was the sewers. What?
The sewing circle.
The sewing circle.
Oh yeah,
I wonder who came up with this very inconspicuous name.
We can do a whole other episode about that. There is a very, very famous rumor that Hattie McDaniel and Tallulah Bankhead were lovers for a while. It was actually featured in Ryan Murphy's series for Netflix, Hollywood. Featured Hattie McDaniel and Tallulah Bankhead together in a relationship. It's one of those things that I'm going to say is like probable. It's hard to source. It's hard to, really sort of confirm or deny. Tallulah Bankhead, however, was pretty upfront and open about her sexuality. But yeah, so there is a very persistent rumor that Hattie and Tallulah were lovers for quite some time. And I think it's probable.
And for those who don't know who Tallulah Bankhead was, she was an actress, but she was also white.
Yes.
So the idea that they were even having some type of love affair in the face of the fact that they're being lesbians out here in the streets in the 1940s, 1930s, is that it was also would be interracial, which was absolutely a no.
Yeah. And so Hattie McDaniel was in a very interesting place in Hollywood. So when Hattie appeared in Gone with the Wind, first of all, she was not allowed to attend the premiere of the film in Atlanta because the theater where it was being held was segregated. And so she couldn't go to the premiere. When she was nominated for an Oscar, she was not permitted to sit with the rest of the cast. She had to sit in the way back of the theater because again, it was segregated, and they sort of rushed her up on stage to give her the award and then took her out the back door. So she dealt with a lot of these racial barriers. I mean, that hardly seems like a strong enough word, but she dealt with it, constantly sort of throughout her career. So it sort of doesn't surprise me that's a line she would dance right over in her personal life. She was so used to working through the system, fighting against the system. So it doesn't surprise me.
And not just fighting the systems, but being inside of the system all at the same time. Right. So she is on a Hollywood set, and this is still early Hollywood. This is black and white Hollywood. This is the Hollywood, and keep me honest here, Amanda. This is like the Hollywood that you hear about is Hollywood, and Hattie McDaniel is out here trying to make a way when nobody wanted to give away. So she's also very familiar with working within these spaces.
What is brilliant about Hattie McDaniel's career as a whole is that she made an entire career out of playing maids and housekeepers who sort of forgot their place, didn't know their place. You know what I mean? If you look at her character in Gone with the Wind, she's definitely that mammy stereotype, but she also there are definitely some moments in that film where her opinion of the entire situation and of, Rhett Butler in particular are very clear on screen. And so she made an entire career of being in the system, but also, sort of telling the system to F off. It's just brilliant. I don't know. She just managed to be in it, but also pushing against it at the same time.
Yeah. And fighting back all at the same time. How brilliant. And now you told me something else that really blew my mind. Okay. Yeah. Hattie McDaniel was out here being sex positive. What?
Yeah. So, and again, this is nothing Hattie herself ever said, but by all accounts, that she was bisexual and very open and embracing of the experience of sex. And I think that's part of the reason that she is often linked with Tallulah Bankhead, who was very vocally sex positive. Tallulah Bankhead was was very clear about who she was and what she was about. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons that she and Hattie McDaniel are linked sometimes. And yeah, so it's just, again, at a time when women in particular, Black women in particular, and also a fat woman like Hattie McDaniel was not the epitome of beauty for an actress at the time, partly because she was Black, but also because she was a heavy woman. And she just none of that mattered, like she just, she was a brilliant actress and a singer and a performer. I just learned this researching this episode, the first, I'm not sure the first Black woman or the first Black performer ever to sing on the American radio. Like just absolutely did not fit in any box, but was like, bet I'm just going to do my thing. And it just did,
and see where it takes me. Also, yeah. I also think it's so interesting too, because Hattie McDaniel in Hollywood, that situates her in California and it situates her in LA, right? Mm-hmm. In Los Angeles. And then we have this whole other queer revolution and liberation happening in New York, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're coming out of Hattie and Harlem Renaissance really do overlap in time. And so all these other queer Black revolutionary writers and artists were definitely liberated out here, right, in New York. But Hattie was pretty far removed from that in Hollywood.
She yes and no. So she was actually born in Kansas. Both of her parents were formerly enslaved. She was born in 1893. And she followed her siblings to Los Angeles. So I think her brother was also an actor. He was actually he was in a Three Stooges movie.
Really?
Yeah, Sam McDaniel. I think her sister might have been an actress too. Don't quote me on that. Someone in the comments will correct us. So she followed her siblings to Los Angeles. They came out before her, and this was all sort of part of the what's called the Great Migration of Black families leaving the South and going to points west, north, and sort of northeast. And so she arrived in Los Angeles in 1931. So right around sort of like the beginning of the Great Depression, and she arrived at a time when Hollywood was but Hollywood was making the transition out of very early silent film and like into talkies, and so she arrived at a time when Los Angeles was undergoing a sort of similar like creative moment, but not nearly as vital or nearly as centered on Black artists and Black writers as the Harlem Renaissance.
So she was in the midst of her own sort of artist revolution that was happening in LA, while something simultaneously would happen on the other side of the country.
Yeah, Hollywood as a whole was going through a really fascinating time in the 1930s, into the 1940s. And so she was really swept up in that. And, I think she got her start on the radio, I think doing like radio dramas, and then, sort of went, and then into film and then into television ultimately, which, there's only a handful, I think, of actors who did all of those things in the course of their career, right? But she did them all.
She did. And while doing research for this, we found out that she has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. To that, yes. She has 1 for radio and 1 for motion pictures. Mm-hmm. Some people just happy to get 1. She had 2.
She's got 1 for each hand. You got to have a match set. It's important to have a match set.
Balance, right? Balance. So, Amanda, is there anything in the history that tells us who was in Hattie's circles? I mean, at this point, she had to be rich, right? I mean, she was in the money to an extent, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. So it's hard to say. She was probably paid well, but I am sure not nearly as well as any of her white counterparts for all of the things that she was doing. Her estate actually wasn't worth much by the time she died. She died in 1952, but it's hard to say whether it wasn't worth much because she wasn't being paid her worth or because she was like giving money away to, family or to friends, or like, it's just kind of hard to say what happened there. But she was definitely moving in influential circles. She and Ethel Waters were friends, as far as I know. And so
she Ethel was family.
Hello. Oh yeah. And she was very, very popular with audiences. But she, again, because she straddled this, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. She straddled such an interesting period in time and did such an interesting combination of things. And so she was sometimes willing to take roles that other actors weren't. Like one of her last roles, or her last role, was as the title character of Balula in a sitcom on CBS. And she took over that role in the second season. The first season, Balula was played by Ethel Waters. Actually left the show because she was concerned about the stereotypes in it. So, Hattie McDaniel was also willing to sort of go places that some other actors at the time weren't. And, the show was popular for a while, and then it was actually canceled because it made military viewers, because it was one of the shows that was broadcast to like American military bases. It made military viewers in particular angry that it was portraying Black men as shiftless and lazy. And so that was one of the reasons that it got canceled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so another little known fact. I mean, family, that's what we get with Amanda here. Okay. She's going to tell us all the little things because it's all in her brain. It's pretty wild. And
it's in the notes in front of me.
I will say, I think that is a thread of Hattie McDaniel's legacy, right? That these roles of Mammy were also juxtaposed to the Black respectability role that Black folks was trying to take at the time. They were trying to not be typecast as the mammy of the house, right? Not to be maids anymore, right? I think Hattie's roles in Hollywood, a lot of people disapproved of. Yeah. History, we can look back on it and say she was working. Okay, this is what she needed to do to make a living, doing what she loved to do. And the roles, I mean, they typecast big black women as the maids. And Aunt Jemima just changed that logo a few years ago. Right? So, I mean, her legacy in playing that role and being that person to wealthy white families definitely had lasting impacts that a lot of Black folks just didn't appreciate.
So she was very pointedly and specifically non-political. She didn't get involved in the nascent civil rights movement. I mean, she died in 1952, so that was before the bulk of it. But she wanted to stay out of all of it on all sides, which I know was incredibly frustrating to a lot of people at the time and is hard to look back on. But on the flip side, it's not like she wasn't doing the work, right? So like she lived in a neighborhood in Los Angeles called West Adams, in the Sugar Hill portion of West Adams. And she lived there with a bunch of other, sort of well-off, well-known Black entertainers and, doctors and luminaries, that kind of thing. And a bunch of white neighbors tried to sue to get Hattie McDaniel and all of her neighbors out of the neighborhood. And Hattie McDaniel rallied 30 of her neighbors to fight the lawsuit, and they won. So on the one hand, she did not want to be involved. She did not want to be like publicly involved in anything political. But on the other hand, she was out rallying her neighbors to win a lawsuit against a bunch of racists who wanted to kick them out of their homes. So
that part. And so much of her life, just living and breathing, was political. Her waking up is political, you know. So there's that part too.
Something I think a lot of people who follow both of us can probably understand. Just waking up and having your entire existence be politicized.
That part, yes. Good grief. Hattie McDaniel was bisexual. I'll be god dogging. On this here day, did I not learn something? Okay. Family, if you're enjoying these videos with me and Amanda talking about queer history, yo, leave us a comment, because we've been talking and maybe we do more of these outside of just October. I don't know. If you want to tell us, okay? This is Anna DeShawn, your favorite queer radio personality. And this is Amanda, you already know, your favorite queer public historian. And who knows, we might just be back with another video.
Ooh.